Hello and welcome to Atop the Fourth Wall, where bad comics burn. When you think of great Batman villains, who do you think of? The Joker, Two-Face, Mr. Freeze, the Riddler, Rock and Roll, Poison Ivy, Harley Quinn, the Ventriloquist... Wait. Rock and Roll? Yeah, believe it or not, Batman has taken on the evils of rock and roll. And no, I'm not talking about the Silver Age here. Today's subject came out in 1999 of all years. Intrigued yet? Hopefully you are, because we're going to dig into Batman Fortunate Son.
Welcome to Atop the Fourth Wall, where bad comics burn. Linkara's gonna teach you all a lesson you won't learn. Rusty, you're not the smartest. Liefeld, you're not an artist. Anyone who's at a bad comic publish, it can be your turn. Linkara, he's the man, but where's the birdie hat? Linkara, he has a magic gun. Where'd he purchase that? Linkara, coins, robots, Amazon, and trucks. Linkara, this comic sucks. Linkara.
This is going to be a longer episode because this is actually a one-shot, 90-page graphic novel, kind of like Superman at Earth's End, only that was much shorter. The cover is of Batman and Robin, Dick Grayson for those wondering which one, standing on top of what appears to be a Broadway theater. What, are they there to break up the Ninja Turtles' excursion into being a rock band? We open to some long-haired guy plucking a guitar and smoking. Inside of the smoke is apparently somebody's review of the music of a guy named Isaac Crow. Try new review cigarettes. A review with every puff. This is our rock star, Isaac Crow. Now, I'm tempted to do a because poor literacy is cool joke here, but doing a Google search does bring up some people who have Isaac spelled with a Z and a K. But I've got to tell you, I've never met anyone named Isaac who had it spelt like that. We see this weird montage of Crow as he goes through his life playing guitar and apparently his manager or something feeding him various lines. It goes from him playing to be the savior of music until they start telling him he just needs to do hit songs and he'll need an image. And that means a look, cause music is a visual medium. Yeah, because you hear music with your eyes. That makes perfect sense. Suddenly, we cut to him and his girlfriend in their home. He proclaims, "It's dead! They killed it! They stuck it in a can and killed it! Mountain Dew Classic, man! Why do we have to have different flavors?" So he locks himself in his room with the intent to kill himself. The girlfriend suspects that he's on drugs, mostly because he's babbling like a madman. And they killed me with it! Actually, I'd say you're the one about to do yourself in, what with you holding the revolver to your head and all. But then suddenly, a blonde Elvis appears. Yeah, they don't call him Elvis, but he's clearly a stand-in for him. Instead of referring to him as the King, they call him the God. No way, you're just a truck driver, fella. Oh, so that's what happened to US-1. But if it's you, why did you come to me? Why me? Because you're on drugs, you idiot! Hell, just a panel ago you said, "No, it's the stuff, you're a hallucination." Lots of people see things when they're on drugs. When I'm on drugs, I see B. Arthur. You should probably forget I said that. Crow starts babbling about how he was supposed to save it all and trying to interpret what not Elvis is saying. Do you want me to keep going? What do you want from me? Mama always told me I was a special one. The last shall be first. I was the last, and I shall be the first. My twin brother died when I was born, and sometimes it takes the death of one to pass a blessing on the other. Are you talking about your death? Passing something on to me? No, man, I'm saying I'm a drug-induced hallucination. Nothing I say means anything. I need scissors 61. His girlfriend suddenly kicks through the door with a hi-ya! New rock star girlfriend with kung fu grip. The vision disappears, and Crow interprets Yellowvis's words to mean that he should destroy the symbol of what he is in the eyes of his record producers. So we cut to the TV station where they're broadcasting his new music video. A bunch of music types in poseur clothing all critique the video based on lighting or the jacket. I'm not exactly sure why they're picking this moment to start talking about it, but whatever. One guy says, "He still plays the strongest guitar I ever heard." But another random guy yells back, "Yeah? So what?"
So what? I'm still a rock star.
Mr. Crow suddenly bursts through the doors carrying both a gun and a grenade. Where the hell did he get a grenade? And why didn't security try to stop him? Because we see he was on the top floor. And he blows up the studio too! How he survives this is anyone's guess. Anyway, in the Batcave, Robin is listening to Crow's music. Batman switches it off, saying it's not allowed in the cave. "You just don't like Isaac Crow, that's all. You think he's a criminal, so he's a bad influence. Isaac couldn't have blown up that cable company. Why would he?" Kid, this was made in 1999. Surely a television station would have security cameras that showed the guy waving a gun and a freaking grenade around. Robin proceeds to list off all the evidence against Crow, dismissing it out of hand as either coincidence or something a psycho fan could do. He proclaims that he's not a gah! Robin, what the hell did they do to your face? Batman, what's going on? Oh my god! Thanks, Bruce, I needed that. I mean, wow, Gene Ha is actually a pretty good artist, but man, the art on these two is terrible. Robin looks like he's 50 and always contorting his face, and Batman's just a joke. The ears are so huge, you're not gonna strike fear in the hearts of criminals with those things. He reminds me of a bunny rabbit or something. I guess he was going for a more realistic look, but it just comes off as silly. I mean, it looks about as convincing as this! The two go off to meet Crow's manager, a man named Roy Lazarus, in the hopes of finding the truth. Robin immediately goes off on the guy, yelling that the guy's spreading rumors about Crow to try to boost CD sales. Ah yes, in the cliché rock and roll tales, it's always the evil manager exploiting an innocent artist. Well, I didn't enter into this insane business in order to exploit the people I admire. Yeah, spoilers, he's actually the evil mastermind behind this. Go figure. The manager gets a call from Crow's kung fu girlfriend that Crow has had another freakout and is now driving around once again talking to the hallucination of the God. Yes sir, it surely is hard to handle being a star. But what do I do? Want to get a cheeseburger? So you're saying I should blow up a McDonald's? Of course! So Batman and Robin race into the car to trace the signal, and Robin's still being a complete twit. Nobody got hurt anyway! Is it such a huge crime to knock some cheesy videos off the air? Yes! It is totally a crime to toss a grenade into a room and blow it up! Destruction of property! Reckless endangerment! Destroying their ability to broadcast the videos, i.e. an infringement of their free speech! That is totally a crime, Robin! Are you as high as Crow? Robin asks Batman if he ever listened to rock as a kid. We get a brief flashback to his father turning off the radio. We don't listen to that sort of music in this house. Now you'd better get ready if you don't want to miss that Zorro movie. Really? You're really going to pull the "on the same day my parents died" card? This is a dumb comic. Oh, and during this little scene, we keep cutting back to Crazy Crow and Elvis the Illusion. He says not Elvis actually came from something real because he grew up from a shack. I grew up on a mock colonial tract. My parents worked for the entertainment industry. My manager went to Oxford, and he's trying to keep me off drugs. Oh no, it's so terrible that I grew up in an economically stable environment instead of impoverished and hungry and on drugs. Okay, this guy's dialogue is so moronic I have to switch to Superboy Prime voice to convey it properly. I want to be real. Do you know what kind of life people live out here? A laid off, leased out, minimum wage, no health, smoke a pack, drink a six, sick of the tube, replaced by a chain, bored with the fear life. Then freaking quit! If you want that life so much, either wait out for your contract to expire or just stop altogether. Robin continues to try to convince Batman of the glories of rock and roll, particularly punk. I mean, wasn't there a lot of great punk coming out when you were a punk? Punk is nothing but death.
and crime and the rage of a beast.
Okay, we gotta hear that again.
Punk is nothing but death and crime and the rage of a beast.
I mean, how do you even get away with writing like that? Just wow. Anyway, Crow arrives in a town and happens upon a group of teenagers who are admirers of his. What you did, man, that was so insanely cool! Yes, risking people's lives because you're an asshole is cool. No wonder I don't connect to the young people today. We hate videos too, man! That ain't music! Yeah, even though they have the music playing during them and usually require a lot more work and artistic expression, they ain't music! Suck it, smooth criminal! They tell him that a local music store refuses to carry his new album because of his criminal status. Damn you, free market! Crow proclaims, tell them there will be no peace in this valley till they do. Weren't you just 2 seconds ago whining about how you wanted a normal life? At the mall where this music store is, we suddenly have a bizarre scene of people talking about Crow. One wishes he could get away with blowing up stuff like that. Another wants the news to talk about people losing their lifestyle, whatever that means in this case. And another is a security guard who comes off as your stereotypical old man. Whatever's bad in the cities, they send out here with all their violent music and movies. Kids today with their iPods and their M&Ms and their hula hoops and their YouTubes and their pierced I don't know whats and their Fallout 3s and their... Crow shows up at the mall and demands, you're going to order my new album and you're gonna give it to these kids free! Well, now we get to part of the truth of the matter, don't we? Purportedly, this whole thing is happening because Crow thinks he's sold out. So what exactly constitutes selling out to these people? Is it that they actually make money on their work? Because if that is the case, then I have to tell both them and anyone who believes in that. You are a frigging idiot! In real life, money makes the world go round. It's all well and good to be talking about how something should be about the art of it and not about the money, but in the real world, you need money. That nice little guitar of his that Mr. Crow uses to strum out his art and all that, yeah, you need to keep that thing in good shape, you need to clean it, you need to replace broken strings, you need food so that the muscles in your arms don't atrophy and you're incapable of lifting a guitar. That being said, of course I'm not saying one should only be about the money, but what exactly is preventing Crow from earning money and making artistically revolutionizing music? I hate to agree with the villain, but the Joker is right.
If you're good at something, never do it for free.
Take artists like Michelangelo or Leonardo da Vinci. They tended to get paid for their work. You need money to survive in the real world. But in this comic, they're not living in the real world. They're living in a fool's paradise where they feel the need to rebel against their privileged environments because of the man or some other bullcrap. But I'm sure you're all sick of this rant by now, so let me just end it with one more logical note. If the good Mr. Crow is so incapable of simply making music and making money, why doesn't he just donate the proceeds to charitable foundations? Hate to break it to you, Guitar Hero, but there are people out there who trade every bit of music ever made if only they could have something to eat for a day. So you'll forgive me if I'm not feeling sympathy for your drug-addled hallucinogenic road trip. And the worst part? We're still not even halfway through this thing. So a riot erupts and Crow even gets shot in the arm. Batman and Robin show up with Robin trying to get Crow away to clear him of the charges since he's a total idiot in this. However, Kung Fu Girlfriend shows up and actually manages to beat up Robin. Even Batman is taken aback by this, believing that Robin let Crow get away despite his protests to the contrary. Crow and his girlfriend speed away, with Crow once again reverting to his Cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs persona. They stop at a drive-in theater showing some of Not Elvis's movies, and when Kung Fu Girlfriend walks away, it's revealed that she's in on this dastardly plot. So Crow, brain trust that he is, downs a bunch of pills and alcohol at once. Jeez, who is this guy? He survives a grenade, a gunshot wound, and now pills and whiskey at once? He should be dead several times over by now. We get a quick scene where some guy finally decides to shoot his TV after we learn that he's working multiple jobs, has a wife and baby, and is basically unsatisfied with his life. Deep? Ugh, to compound our irritation, we cut to Roy Lazarus giving a press conference at a rock and roll museum that is a special display for Not Elvis. He goes on and on about rock and roll origins and blah blah blah. Thankfully, Batman and Robin arrive so that we can actually have a point to this. Batman says that he's starting to agree with Robin that Crow's not responsible for this whole mess, even though we just saw him a few pages ago inciting a fricking riot! Oh, but this is where things get really stupid, and that's saying something. Batman tells Lazarus that he lacks enough knowledge of rock and roll music to understand Crow's mission, so he's going to go study up on rock and roll. Even Robin thinks this plan is idiotic. You're not gonna get rock just by holding up with some CDs and microfilm for a couple of hours. Believe it or not, though, that is exactly what he does. And only after a few hours of study, suddenly Batman is the greatest musical expert on Earth. We were already straining credibility here, but this is just pushing it way past the goofy meter. First of all, he's freaking Batman! The man is a detective with an incredible mind and capacity for knowledge. He primes himself to be the best at everything, and that includes studying the criminal mind in every way he can to try to anticipate what they'll do. Even if we were to accept this ludicrous premise that Batman thinks rock and roll is inherently evil, that just means he should already know about all of this. He would have studied up the history of rock, all its purveyors and singers and performers, because he would want to know everything he could to combat it. Secondly, come on! He learns all there is to know in just a few hours? You could study music all your life and still never get close to any true meaning of a genre of music, and just studying its history isn't going to do that. Meanwhile, more people are listening to the cry of Crow to rebel and hit the road and somehow find him playing his guitar on some rocks. How'd they know where he was? Why are they such idiots? I don't know, and I frankly don't care. Back to Batman's study of rock and roll.
Pigs from a gun!
What the funkin' Wagner does that mean? Oh, from I Am the Walrus? Why is he randomly quoting... Oh, screw it. While we're recovering from that bit of what the hell, let's talk for a second about why a comic like this is set to fail from the start. Despite what this book said earlier, music is not a visual medium, unless it's a music video. Comic books, on the other hand, are a visual medium. Words and images combine together to create a story. What comic books are not is an auditory medium. Oh sure, there are times when I heard a triumphant song in my head when something badass was happening in a comic, but that's not the same thing as actual sound. We need sound effect words to substitute for that. But this and other comics that feature music try to get around that by just having the lyrics. Well, that's not the same thing! People in this book keep talking about what a great musician Crow is, how his playing is so brilliant and new, but you know what? If I can't hear it, I'm not buying it! All I can see are the lyrics, and they're not really all that impressive. Bottom line, unless you include a freaking CD with songs by this guy along with it, it's just a bunch of nonsense poems to me! Anyway, they figure based on the movements of the crowd that they and Crow are headed for the original home of Not Elvis. We cut to said home, where the assembled dumbasses decide to break in and claim the body of Not Elvis, who's sealed up in a glass case like he was freaking Lennon, for crying out loud.
In Europe, the relics of saints are on display to all worshippers. Free!
Yeah, and how are those high tax rates in Europe going, So another riot breaks out, and Batman and Robin leap in to try to stop people from shooting each other. However, someone does shoot a police officer and one of the rioters, but it wasn't from either side. Crow does yell out, though,
I didn't do it!
Yeah, all you did was trash a museum while yelling, free, free, over and over. Speaking of, yeah, it'd be nice if such things were free, but how the hell do you think they pay for simple stuff like, oh, I don't know, standard maintenance and upkeep of those freaking relics? Because really, are we meant to sympathize with anyone here? We won't sympathize with Batman, and I'll show you why in a minute. We don't sympathize with Robin because he's being a naive idiot, and we don't sympathize with Crow, who just spews out pseudo-philosophical ramblings while causing massive destruction and harm to people. But there's still a lot more comic to go, so let's get back to it. Batman leaps down.
Twist and shout, Mr. Crow.
Shake it up, baby. Twist and shout.
Yeah, I'm just gonna dance for a bit to help me forget about this whole thing. So Kung Fu Girlfriend shows up again, and we learn that a lot of the thugs in the crowd are actually trained fighters, meaning that they were planted there. Somehow, during the chaos, Crow manages to escape, and Robin says that the train thugs prove that Crow is being framed. Except for all the stuff that we clearly saw him doing.
Does it matter whether others are manipulating his insanity, or his insanity is manipulating others?
He's not insane. He's telling the truth.
What truth? That people shouldn't be allowed to earn money? That if you disagree with someone, it's okay to wreck their stuff? Insanity reverberates in every chord of this music you love. You're an idiot!
So, believe it or not, Batman decides to take a detour from the hunt for the missing fugitive and bring Robin to Arkham Asylum, where for some reason, we suddenly have all of the inmates talking about music at the same time. We also get a flashback to the incident that convinced Batman, or rather Bat Bunny if you can believe the art for his ears here, that rock and roll was evil.
Before I became the Batman, wandering alone and without purpose through a foreign city, you know, in between training to become the greatest vigilante in history, I heard a scream of rage and anguish and rushed to stop the crime I thought was being committed. But the scream and the crime were music.
This is not Footloose, Batman. Rock and roll is not a crime. So apparently the bass player notices Bruce and grabs onto his arm, which I guess is somehow enough to convince Bruce to spend several weeks
trapped in his obsession.
Obsession with what? By the time he got out, though, the bass player had already killed his girlfriend. And that's why rock and roll is evil. Because one rock player killed one person. That is enough to spook the Dark Knight. God, this comic sucks! I don't even know where to start. This is moronic on so many levels, made worse by all of Batman's rogues gallery, who all decide to start spontaneously naming their favorite bands, including Kiss, ABBA, and Black Sabbath. I apologize to all of those musicians for being mentioned in this tripe. Robin runs off, unconvinced and rightfully so, and decides to strike out on his own in search of Crow. Crow, meanwhile, picks up some more delusions for his road trip. Yeah, I don't know who any of these people are, and I am giving a request to all commenters. Don't post about who they are. Don't speculate. Don't inform me. I do not care. At all. There's so much stupid in this book that it doesn't deserve any such speculation. Anyway, Robin talks to Kung Fu Girlfriend, and we learn that Lazarus is in on the whole plan. Lazarus talks to some reporters about how Crow is intent on tearing down the entertainment industry that corrupted his music. How did they do that exactly? Did they alter his music in post-production or something? I don't know. Kung Fu Girlfriend drives with Robin out to Los Angeles to hunt down Crow. When she explains that she was trying to bring music back to life through him, he asks if loving him was a lie. No, I love Isaac Crow with a fire that would turn most men into ashes. But what is he without the song torching through him? A human being, Robin yells back along with me. They're all human beings. That's the problem. They're not big enough to contain the song without it burning them up. Stop pretending this is poetic. Stop assuming this is deep. The song? Let me get it through your head. You are nuts! Well, actually, we do learn the plan. The plan originally was to set him free so he could lead his people against the packaging of their souls. Ugh, this was made in 1999, folks. This kind of hippie crap was old hat even back in the 80s. However, Kung Fu Girlfriend has realized that Lazarus had an even bigger plan, to get him killed so his legend could live on forever, or some bullcrap like that. Crow rides into the edge of LA, but there are people already waiting there to disrupt things. For some reason, the cops decide to open fire on Crow when he starts playing his guitar, and Batman goes nuts on a guy who looks like that quote-unquote obsessed rocker from his past. There's lots of hilariously bad dialogue about the Beast, but I am so damn sick and tired of this. So they go to confront Lazarus, who has a bunch of Elvis and Crow impersonators with him. I don't know, logic went out the window long ago. He rants and rants like some insane Colonel Sanders and then jumps out the window to his death, impaled on a cross. Ironic? And so our comic ends with Batman turning off the radio of the Batcave, telling Robin that it's Crow's final and perfect composition. Silence. This comic, it sucks! Totally and completely! Nowhere amidst their rambling, incoherent musings about the nature of rock and roll, did they ever come anywhere close to a real answer? Here's one answer from the resident music man himself, Paw.
So what this comic is telling us is that rock music, and by extension most types of music, are the sole cause of moral degradation in today's youth. As if all it takes to turn your innocent little prince or princess to a drug-addled misfit bent on destruction of anything deemed authoritative is just to let them tune into their local rock station. It's ridiculous. Rock music is not this demonic force sent in from another plane of existence, existing only to corrupt the innocent minds to create this brainless army of leather-clad hellions rioting and looting, as awesome as that sounds. Instead, rock music, in its purest form, is simply artistic expression and popularity. Music is penned for the same reason you write poetry, or write books, or perform in plays, or create videos. The fact that this comic portrays rock music in the same way that Reefer Madness portrayed pot either tells me that this comic was written by a 70-year-old Puritan in the 50s, or by some moron who has absolutely no concept of what music is or its effect on society.
So let's end this episode not with some faux poetic bullcrap about silence. Let's end it with a real message of rock and roll.